Do scholars believe that Josephus wrote about Jesus? Yes. So, one of the claims among mythicists is that Josephus never actually wrote anything about Jesus, that the passage that we have within Josephus that talks about Jesus was in fact a forgery. And often they go so far as to say that most scholars believe that it was a forgery, but that's simply false. When looking at this passage in Josephus, the Testimonium Flavium, there's really three positions that scholars take. One is that it's a complete forgery, and that's something that mythicists take. Second, there are those who say that, well, it's not a complete forgery. There's a core there that is actually authentic, but we have some interpolations there as well. And then finally, there are those who say that it's, well, the whole thing is authentic to Josephus. But really, what we see most often is really the second option, that it's a partial forgery, that Josephus did write something about Jesus, but later on people added to it. Now, when it comes to this mainstream idea, the consensus that there was a passage that was added to, those people who subscribe to this idea can actually strip away what they think those additions are. When that is done, what we are left with is something that looks specifically like Josephus. It doesn't look like it was added by someone else, because the style, the language, basically everything about this passage fits with Josephus. Recently, though, there's been a movement that actually argues that the entire thing is authentic, even though some words have been dropped or some meanings have kind of shifted. Now, part of this is based on our better understanding of Greek. They're looking at the Greek text and they're kind of rethinking what these words actually mean. Now, a part of understanding this better is just looking at the terms that are in this passage and seeing where Josephus uses them elsewhere. And with doing that, we can actually see what he meant through those use of the terms. And by combining all of this, we get a very different idea of what this passage really is portraying. When we take that all into consideration, what we get is possibly a passage that really isn't positive, but is more neutral or even negative. Now, I do want to be clear that those who are saying that this entire thing is authentic are really challenging the consensus. And they know that. But by challenging the consensus, they are putting forth arguments that are actually taking on the burden of proof and trying to show why their view is better than what the consensus is. And that's really how you should do it. But either way, when you actually look at what scholars are saying about Josephus, the vast majority of them say that there is something authentic there. When we look at those who say that it's complete forgery, you're really looking at maybe a handful of scholars at best. So this idea that scholars